Welcome back. If you've picked up any beef lately, I got some to make some chili the other night. You are probably seeing higher beef prices. It was great. Since the beginning of the year, they are up 10 to 20% beef prices are. And in response, President Trump has proposed beefing up meat imports from Argentina, quadrupling what we're bringing in now. As you might remember from Econ 101, more supply should bring down prices. But his plan has sparked backlash from the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. The organization said it, quote, cannot stand behind President Trump while he undercuts the future of family farmers and ranchers by importing Argentinian beef in an attempt to influence prices. So will this plan to bring down prices with foreign beef work, and is it worth it? Joining us now is Republican Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas, where, by the way, there are more cattle than people, and that's the case for many states. Senator, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. To start us off, what are you hearing from cattle ranchers in your state?
Well, I think that, first of all, I want the ranchers to know that I'm standing beside them, that I understand that for the last 10 years we've had drought. Because of that, we haven't had water in our ponds, we haven't had pasture for our cattle, and consequently, we had the smallest cattle herd in my entire lifetime. That's what's driving up prices in reality. They're also, they are making a little money, but I understand that, the last 10 years we've lost money. So they're doing okay, and one of the reasons they're doing okay are these successful trade agreements that President Trump negotiated in Trump 45, a big agreement with Japan. More good news out of it. They're buying the high-value beef. Let's talk about Argentina just for a second. You could have went to the Chiefs game last night and went to 1,000 different tailgates before you found one hamburger from Argentina. They make up less than 1/1000th of our beef supply right now. So you could quadruple that and it wouldn't touch it. What else is going on is because of tariffs on Brazil and because of a screwworm in Mexico, those countries are not importing hardly any beef into our country right now. So Argentina could never begin to replace those imports. And one last point, we import hamburger from those countries. We don't make enough hamburger in this country. We have high-value beef that we're exporting right now. And by the way, beef is still half the price of fish out there. There's other alternatives. You could buy chicken, you could buy pork if you feel like beef is too high, but I'm standing beside my ranchers.
So, Senator, if the Argentinian imports will only be a blip, will hardly have an effect on the market here, why will it bring down American prices, as the president is arguing?
Well, I think it'll be much bigger than that. It typically takes 3 or 4 years for the cattle to turn around. It's not like chickens where you can have a new chicken every month. You keep a heifer, that's the female calf. It takes 2 years, so she's ready. So it takes 3 or 4 years before you start growing the herd and seeing it at the marketplace right that. So those are the other things going out there. I think our focus should be on taking care of the screwworm in Mexico. We typically have about 1.2 million cattle come from Mexico in this country. Right now, that's completely shut off. So that would be the bigger market to go after right now. I think there's bigger things going on in Argentina than the beef market. I think the president's trying to push China out of South America. I think that's what's going on there.
But Senator, I hear you saying you're standing with the cattle ranchers there in the state of Kansas, but it seems like there's some daylight between what you're saying and what the National Cattlemen's Beef Association is saying. They're pointing out that in the last 5 years, Argentina has shipped beef valued at more than $800 million to the U.S., and we've only sent to them $7 million worth of U.S. beef. So there's a trade imbalance here that cattlemen are apparently worried about. Is there daylight here? It seems like there is to me.
Well, look, maybe we can both be right. The way trade works, let me explain this again. We're importing hamburger from Argentina because we don't grow enough hamburger here. Our cattle are much higher bred, higher protein value, so we're shipping steaks and roast to Japan and to Southeast Asia right now. So we have to import some hamburger. Yes, we've got a trade imbalance going on. That needs to be addressed. The president's trying to address that right now. And at the same time, pushing China out of South America. You can't look at these issues in silos. We're tickled pink that the ranchers are doing better. Again, they've lost money. I've lost lots of money in ranching myself. And one last point here is that the ranchers are only getting about $2.30 a pound, but it's selling at the market for $10 and $12. Why? One of the challenges we have is that we have 3 packing plants controlling about 85% of the industry, and a lot of the markup is there. So the president and Secretary Rollins and I are working on bringing more competition to the processing part of this as well.
Senator, I was speaking to a cattle rancher from your beautiful state of Kansas this morning, and he said that part of the issue is the drought, like you mentioned, but also less people getting into this industry and the smaller herds. So should the government be focused on growing our domestic herd sizes here to try to affect this supply issue?
Well, look, I don't know that the government can solve every problem right now. Every rancher back in Kansas is trying to grow his herd. That's what the market is telling them to do. But it takes 3 or 4 years to do that. Now, what the government is doing is opening up grazing lands as well and trying to more conservation projects where we can save more of that water as well. So the government can touch it on the edges, but it's just going to take 3 or 4 years for this market to turn around. And that's just the way it is. Every rancher back home is trying to grow his herd.
All right, Senator Marshall, I hear you. 50,000 jobs, including cattle farming, ranching, and animal processing in the state of Kansas alone, one of 9 states in the U.S. where there are more cattle than people. We appreciate your feedback on everything here this morning and your frank conversation. We'll have you back soon.
Thank you.
All right, that was Senator Marshall with today's By the Way.